Fellow gardeners, let me share something that completely transformed my watermelon harvests. 3 years ago, I was struggling with wimpy, flavorless melons that barely filled a salad bowl. Fast forward to last season and I'm hauling 25-pound giants from my backyard that had neighbors stopping by just to see what I was growing. The secret? Mastering the art of strategic fertilizing and pruning, two techniques that most gardeners either overcomplicate or skip entirely. Today, I'm breaking down my foolproof system that'll have you growing prize-worthy watermelons without breaking your back or your budget. Whether you're planting your first watermelon patch, or you've been battling disappointing harvest for years, this guide will revolutionize how you approach these incredible fruits. Before we dive into the how-to, let's talk about what your watermelon plants are actually doing throughout the season. Think of watermelon growth in three distinct phases: the establishment phase, which is the first 3 to 4 weeks, the explosive growth phase from weeks 4 to 8, and the fruit development phase, which runs from weeks 8 to 12. Each phase demands different nutrients and pruning strategies, and this is where most gardeners go wrong. They treat their plants the same way all season long. During establishment, your plants are building their root systems and initial vine structure. This is when they're hungry for nitrogen to fuel leaf and stem growth. The explosive growth phase is exactly what it sounds like. Vines can grow several feet in a single week, flowers start appearing, and your fertilization strategy needs to shift dramatically. Finally, during fruit development, your plant's entire energy should redirect towards swelling those melons to maximum size and sweetness. Here's my game-changing approach to watermelon fertilization that eliminates guesswork and delivers consistent results. Start with a soil test. I know it sounds boring, but this 15-minute investment will save you months of frustration. Watermelons thrive in slightly acidic to neutral soil with a pH between 6.0 and 7.0, and they're surprisingly sensitive to nutrient imbalances. For the establishment phase, I use a balanced fertilizer with an NPK ratio of roughly 10-10-10, applied every 2 weeks. Mix 2 tablespoons per gallon of water and give each plant about a quart of this solution. The key here is consistency rather than heavy feeding. Young watermelon plants can actually be damaged by too much fertilizer too early. Once you hit the explosive growth phase and start seeing the first flowers, it's time to switch gears completely. Reduce nitrogen significantly and boost phosphorus and potassium. I transition to a 5-15-15 fertilizer during this period. Why? Too much nitrogen during flowering creates gorgeous green vines, but honestly, disappointing fruit set. Your plants get so focused on producing leaves that they forget their main job making watermelons. The fruit development phase is where the magic happens, and your fertilization strategy becomes, well, absolutely critical. Switch to a low nitrogen, high potassium fertilizer, something like 2-8-12 works beautifully. Apply this every 10 days, but here's the crucial part. Stop all fertilization 4 weeks before your expected harvest date. This forces the plant to focus entirely on ripening and concentrating sugars in the existing fruits. Now let's talk about pruning, which might be the most misunderstood aspect of watermelon growing. Many gardeners either don't prune at all or, honestly, go overboard and stress their plants. My approach focuses on strategic pruning that maximizes fruit size while maintaining plant health. Start by identifying your main vines. These are the thick, primary stems growing directly from your plant's base. You want to maintain 2 to 3 of these main vines throughout the season. Any additional vines beyond this number should be removed when they're still small. This isn't being harsh. You're actually helping your plant focus its energy more effectively. Secondary vine management is where things get interesting. Allow secondary vines to develop along your main stems, but limit them strategically. I keep 1 secondary vine every 4 to 5 feet along each main vine. These secondary vines will produce your flowers and eventually your watermelons. Remove any tertiary vines that develop from these secondary shoots. They're energy drains that, honestly, rarely produce quality fruit. The most crucial pruning decision comes after fruit set. Once your watermelons reach softball size, limit each secondary vine to 1 fruit. I know it's tempting to let every melon develop, but here's the reality. A plant can only pump so much energy into fruit development. 1 large, sweet watermelon is infinitely better than 3 small, bland ones. Timing your pruning is as important as the technique itself. I do my major pruning early in the morning when plants are fully hydrated and less stressed. Use clean, sharp pruning shears, and make cuts at a 45-degree angle about a quarter inch above a leaf node. This promotes quick healing and reduces disease risk. Here are some insider techniques that separate good watermelon growers from great ones. First, consider selective fruit thinning even within individual vines. If you notice multiple small fruits developing close together on the same vine, choose the most promising one and remove the others when they're golf ball sized. This isn't wasteful, it's strategic energy management. Leaf pruning becomes important as fruits develop. Remove any leaves that are shading developing watermelons, but be conservative. Leaves are the plant's solar panels, so only remove those that are directly blocking sunlight from reaching the fruit. I also remove any yellowing or diseased leaves immediately to prevent problems from spreading. Let me address the mistakes I see repeatedly in watermelon patches. Over-fertilizing is probably the biggest culprit behind disappointing harvests. More isn't always better with watermelons. Stick to the schedule I've outlined, and resist the urge to give just a little extra fertilizer when plants look hungry. Often, what looks like nutrient deficiency is actually overwatering or poor drainage. Underpruning is equally problematic. I've seen gardeners with watermelon vines covering half their yard, but producing tiny, flavorless fruits. Don't be afraid to be decisive with your pruning shears. Every cut you make should have a purpose: improving air circulation, focusing energy, or removing diseased material. Growing exceptional watermelons isn't about having a green thumb or secret techniques. It's about understanding what your plants need and when they need it. The fertilization and pruning strategies I've shared have been refined through years of experimentation and countless conversations with fellow gardeners who've implemented these methods successfully. Remember, every garden is different, so use this framework as your starting point and adjust based on your specific conditions and observations. Keep detailed notes about what works in your space, and don't be discouraged if your first season isn't perfect. Watermelon growing is a skill that improves with experience. Start implementing these techniques with your next planting, and I guarantee you'll see dramatic improvements in both fruit size and flavor. The satisfaction of slicing into a perfectly ripe, homegrown watermelon that you've carefully nurtured from seed to harvest is one of gardening's greatest rewards. If this guide helped you level up your watermelon game, make sure to subscribe to Soil Sensei for more in-depth gardening strategies that actually work. Share this article with your fellow gardeners. Great watermelons are meant to be celebrated and shared with the community. Here's to your most successful watermelon season yet.